Hello and welcome to Where Are They Now? I'm your host, Heather Linstad, CHS, class of 1985. So excited today to bring in a new guest, Karen Guregian, class of 1979. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, great to see you. I mean, I obviously read all your columns, but because I'm a sports fan, just like you were in high school and those kind of things. But when you were at Chelmsford High and playing sports, is it anything that you ever thought that you get into at any time?
Well, my original thought was to be an athlete. I mean, I had this crazy dream when I was younger that I was going to be the next shortstop for the Red Sox.
Yeah.
I mean, I played softball. I really enjoyed that sport, among others. But kind of when push came to shove, when I was in high school, I had to think, well, that might not be realistic. But the good thing was I was always encouraged through high school, even from going back to elementary school. Teachers in elementary school would always comment about how well I wrote. Or, in second and third grade, I was using a thesaurus for words. So I guess even going back then, writing was important to me. And, I had a lot of encouragement, as I said, from, a young age in grade school through junior high school. I had an English teacher, Miss Agostinelli, who's now Mrs. Dowd, and she didn't think it was odd when I did like my school report on violence in hockey.
Okay.
It's like again, she didn't. I wasn't graded poorly because I did this odd topic. But again, then getting to high school, I had teachers in all, not just like English teachers, but a history teacher, Miss Safaris, who was always very encouraging. And, when I finally got to doing journalism type, it was Mr. Meidel.
Yeah.
So all along the way, I mean, I don't think I could have gotten a better education, or B, more encouragement. And I kind of know about the education part, or I didn't understand it until my first year in college. I had to take like a basic grammar course with hundreds of other aspiring journalists like me. It was like a basic course you had to take. And I was in a room full, there had to be about 100 and 150 students in this basic grammar class. And I was one of the few that could pick out a noun and a verb in a sentence.
Really?
And these were aspiring. I'm not exaggerating. So there's a lot of kids there from New York and New Jersey and Connecticut and states in and around Massachusetts, and a lot of kids struggled with basic grammar type things. And I knew right then and there, God, yeah, I was taught pretty well at Chelmsford.
Yeah. Did you know that, though, when they were kind of inspiring you, that was kind of the thing that you loved the most? Or I just felt like with the teachers at Chelmsford, they weren't telling you what to do, but they were picking up probably on your passion faster than you were.
Oh, no question.
Yeah.
As I said, in second, third, and fourth grade, there were teachers there who, and again, I didn't think much of it at the time, but they were, always liked my writing or my, whatever papers I, turned in as a kid, And again, I wasn't thinking like that. I was thinking more in athletic terms. I wanted to be an athlete or something to do with sports.
Yeah.
But as I said, when push came to shove, it was almost like, well, maybe you can kind of do both.
Yeah.
And maybe you can write about sports.
Well, now, I know you probably were in the Lowell Sun an awful lot. I mean, you were a three-sport athlete at Chelmsford. Your teams did very well. Did you ever think, like then when you were going to, the Lowell Sun banquets and those kind of things, like this is the kind of thing that that I might want to report on?
No, no, actually,
Still wanted to be
no.
the athlete.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's hard to drive the athlete out of you.
Yep.
You know, especially, again, I was a 3-sport athlete.
Yeah.
You know, as a child, my father took me to Red Sox games, and I had 2 brothers, and he was taking me to these sporting events. And so I was so hooked and passionate about sports. It took me, you know, basically giving up on being a professional athlete to finally sit back and say, okay, now what?
Right.
Well, you know, all these teachers keep telling me I can write.
Yeah.
You know, they keep pushing me a little bit in that direction. Well, what the heck? Let me try that.
Yeah. And so when you were thinking about going to college and those kind of things, I mean, that was right on top of your list.
What I actually did was I wrote letters to the sports editors of the major papers, and like I wrote to the Vince Doria of the Boston Globe, and you know, basically asked, look, I'm in high school, I'm an aspiring journalist, sports writer. You know, where have people on your staff gone? You know, because I want to head in that direction. And he was one of the, I don't know how many letters I sent out to different sports editors, but he was one of the few who responded and basically said, there's, you know, a variety. You know, I have people here from Boston College. I have people here from, you know, Ivy League schools. I have people here from, you know, other schools. And, you know, then I asked, well, do they major in journalism or English? You know, is there, you know, because I'm looking for the fastest, best path I could find. And he said, well, both. You know, I have journalism majors and English majors, so it's on you, kid, what you want to do. So with that in mind, the schools I applied to, you know, I applied to a few Ivy League schools thinking I would major in English. You know, I applied to several other schools that had journalism majors, and that it was a matter of saying, okay, where am I accepted?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't get into the Ivy League school. I applied to Yale, and that was kind of really disappointing because, you know, you figure when you're a kid that you know, I was in the top 10 in my class. Yeah. 3-sport athlete, 3-sport captain. I was also very good at playing the piano, and you know, it's like, well, what do you have to do to get into these schools? It's hard. But I did get into Northeastern, and as much as I lamented, you know, not getting into that Ivy League school, Northeastern turned out to be the absolute best thing for me in my career in journalism because of the co-op program.
Right. And that's an amazing thing, right? The co-op program and just really getting your hands dirty within what you're trying to do, right? I mean, is that?
Well, if you can land in the field that you're looking for, and I was so lucky. You know, they were able to get me into the Lowell Sun, which had quite a few co-op students. You know, it was kind of an arrangement. We'll send you kids every semester. Yeah. And it was important, like in journalism, you know, you learn things in the classroom. You learn grammar and, you know, ethics and things like that. But you really can't learn, A, how to do the job, or B, if you can do the job, or if you even like doing the job. Right. So, you know, I got to co-op right away at the Lowell Sun, and the very first day I'm there, they sent me out to a fire. And again, I'm wanting to cover sports, but most of my time at the Lowell Sun was spent covering other things. But that's how I learned to be a reporter. Yep. That's how I learned to write on deadline, which is something I didn't think I could do, but you learn in a hurry. And the other thing is I learned that I actually loved the job, or you get this adrenaline rush, especially like at that day at the fire. I went with the reporter who covers such things, and I was tagging along with him to write a sidebar. So he had the main fire, and I had to find, some side kind of story about the fire. It was a house, and they rescued a dog. So, there's my story. So, I get back, and it's funny. I was dressed in this kind of vanilla colored shirt, top and bottom and skirt, and heels. And I'm at a fire, and I came back, and I was like all black. So you learn quickly how to dress on
Yeah.
the job, but then secondly, so I get back, and I'm all excited. Oh, the other thing was, so I went flying out the door, literally within the first 10 minutes I was there to cover this fire. And so I'm in the back seat, and the photographer was driving, and the reporter's in the front seat, and the reporter asked me, "Oh, so you got a notebook?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, sure." I didn't have a notebook.
Can you stop at the CVS?
No. So, but I just tried to act cool. I had a checkbook. So I'm interviewing the fireman who rescued the dog, and with the back of checks,
Yeah.
writing his responses. So we get back to the little son, and I'm there. Obviously, so they have all these computers, which I didn't know how to use. And so the city editor said, "Okay, we'll set you up with a typewriter. You know how to use one of those." "Yeah, I can use a typewriter." And then he said, "Okay, I need it in 20 minutes. Wow. So I'm like, God, I guess I have to write this really fast. So I did. I got it to him, and there I am. When I got home and picked up the paper, there I was on the front page of the paper that very first day.
Very first day.
And again, that's all it took to hook me, really.
When did you get your big break, though, to get to do sports?
Well, it's odd. I kind of was able to work at the Lowell Sun not only during co-op, but also when I was in school to try and earn some more money to kind of pay to go to school.
Yeah.
Schools are kind of expensive.
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine going now?
No, because it's quadrupled what it costs to go to these places. But anyway, I had done a little bit of sports here and there. Like I answered calls for sports.
Yeah.
But there were a couple editors from Lowell who wound up going to the Boston Herald to work. And, obviously they had known me as a co-op student, and that when there was an opening in sports, I got a call and said, "Come interview." And I said, at the time, I still had another year or more of school left, because Northeastern's 5-year program. I said, well, it'll probably be a good experience for when I do get out of school, and, Well, I went and I interviewed with the sports editor, and he had looked at all my clips from all these fires I had covered, and drug busts, and school committee meetings, and all, it was a kind of a vast portfolio that I had of clips. And he said, well, I know if you're at a sporting event and, there's a tornado or a disaster, you'll be good. I mean, we won't have to teach you how to do that. He wanted to hire me, right away. And I almost, literally fell off the chair, because I was not expecting that. I actually turned them down.
Really?
Well, I didn't go to college not to graduate.
Right.
So we had this little arrangement that I worked part-time for the Herald until I got out of school, and it was kind of a we'll see how it works out kind of thing. Yep. And thankfully, when I graduate, they hired me full-time. So that was
it the same gentleman that was
there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he hadn't left.
No.
So that worked out.
So, and I've been there ever since, and I've been there 38 years.
When they said sports, though, was there anything? I mean, clearly, you wanted to be a professional athlete, but you're a female. And then the sports that you played in high school, aren't really what you
They
cover.
didn't apply. No, there's no
I mean,
field hockey.
I mean, certainly I know because
or softball,
obviously
or
I'm the ice hockey person, but
Yeah.
you've got to do the Bruins and you've done the Patriots with that. Did that matter to you, and I have to ask you, when you're writing, do you almost feel like a coach because you're breaking down games or listening to what athletes have to say? Because in truth, you've got to be listening to what they're saying,
Oh, yeah.
and really applying to what it is.
Yeah, it's. I mean, yeah, I was covering sports that I didn't necessarily play, be it ice hockey, although I tried it once. I did play basketball, and baseball is sort of like softball, but not quite. But it's like fighting that battle of your audience, and does the audience believe you know what you're writing about?
Yeah.
So that's the struggle. It wasn't what I know, because I know what I know.
Right.
I love sports. Just because I didn't play hockey doesn't mean I can't cover hockey. I can't understand hockey and can't understand breakouts and things like that. And it's the same thing with football. Right. It doesn't mean that I can't grasp a zone defense, Yeah. You can. So then the trick is conveying that knowledge in what you're writing. Right. And making it, believable to the readers that you actually know what the heck you're doing.
But it's no different than there are coaches that coach sports that they didn't play either.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
And once you have that mindset of, I just love sports, you're watching it for a different reason.
Right.
Which isn't always fun. You don't always get to be like, yay, that was a great game.
And the other thing is, it's not, covering sports nowadays isn't just, knowing the sport. I mean, you have to have a sense too, like you're dealing with coaches and general managers and all these people who talk to you, and it's almost like you have to kind of read between what they're saying, or have an ability to know, all right, what are they really telling me?
Right.
Or to know, are they lying to me? Are they, it's again, it's not a simple thing as just, well, there's the game and there's what happened. There's so much more to it. So
it's like a chess match.
Yeah, there's just so much more to it now,
But even so, it's like a game within a game.
Yeah.
And you think like an athlete, so that's what you're trying to do anyways.
Right. Or I know when somebody is BSing me,
So when you write a story, you've won some accolades and those kind of, for being so good at what you do. Has there been a story that you were like, yeah, I just hit it out of the park on that one? Do you know that? I mean, do you feel that?
Yeah, sometimes you I'm probably my own worst critic.
Right.
But I think that's a good thing, because you're always striving to be better or striving to write something better. Mm-hmm. And for the volume of things that, I put out in a week or a year or whatever, I mean, it's like any athlete. It's hard to be on top of your game all the time. Right. You try, but sometimes it just doesn't happen to you, or there is such a thing as writer's block, and you, oh my God, I don't know, how am I going to get into this story? So you sit back, take a breath, and you get it out, but it's not always your best thing. The stuff that you have time, a little more time to work on. Just this week, 2 days ago, yesterday, I wrote something that I thought really came out well, and it was about a former Patriot player who took up golf after he retired, and he's now basically a step away from qualifying for the U.S. Open. And it was not only just a fun piece to write, but getting a hold of all the people that were necessary to get a full picture, and then putting it all together in a nice, readable, enjoyable fashion. And I had a lot of people comment that they thought it was a really kind of uplifting, good, neat kind of story, and that I had captured it really well. Yeah. So,
has there been a favorite person to interview, talk to, or a story, like I said, like that just captivated you, or you just kind of enjoy working on? There was a piece that.
Well, I
like
mean,
that.
there are. It's like it's probably not smart of me to tell you who's good or who's not good or who I like or don't like, because you want to have an even
Correct.
playing field. But I will say, from people that I've written about or met that weren't like directly involved in the beats I now cover, that I found fascinating, and this goes way back. I met Billie Jean King and did a story on her. And she just kind of blew me away with just her insights and knowledge, not just of tennis or the sport, but sports in general. And, it was just fascinating to listen to her.
Right.
So, that was one of them. I was also did a story on Muhammad Ali a long time ago. And, he was early kind of Parkinson's at that point. He didn't communicate a lot verbally, but he communicated a lot with his eyes and his actions. And I was fortunate enough to get to interview him he was speaking at a college, or he was signing autographs at a college or whatever. He had an appearance, and I got to talk to him alone in a back ballroom somewhere, and he was just so engaging without talking.
Yeah.
Like he wanted to know we shadow boxed.
Really?
Honest to goodness. But so he just wanted to see, are you really? Do you really know anything about boxing? All right, put him up. Okay, so oh my God, and I'm like in the middle of this going, I'm like shadow boxing with Muhammad Ali. I was like, oh my God. Then he started.
So at that time, did you feel like the pro athlete that you wanted to be? Shadow boxing with Ali.
And I was just, as I said, just kind of fascinated by the whole thing. Then, again, I wanted to talk to him about his career and stuff, and then he started doing magic tricks. Totally blew me away. I mean, he pulled things out of my ears, and then honest to God, he went to the back of near the windows, and he levitated off the ground. I swear to you, he levitated. So I'm going, wow. It's like I didn't even have to interview him. All I had to do was write about what happened.
Yeah. Yep.
Fascinating stuff like that.
So do you sometimes think back, from, like you said, second and third grade writing, going through Chelmsford High and teachers telling you doing a great job, and then being with some icons. Those are icons in athletics. And being like, how did I get here, though?
Yeah. I have to pinch myself. It's like I've had a ton of people say to me, and even strangers, oh my God, I want to be you. Like, I want your job. And the thing is that I couldn't have dropped into a better 3 or 4 decades to be a sports writer in Boston.
In Boston, yeah.
Between all the championships and all the, the great things events that I've covered and written about, and the great people that I've met. I mean, I've also covered Olympics. I've covered 7 or 8 Masters golf tournaments. So I kind of have to pinch myself sometimes and think, God, I am so lucky that I've.
But the real pinch had to be, especially for your dad, when the Red Sox won the World Series.
True. Unfortunately, my dad had passed before that happened. But here, here's a story on that. I was in St. Louis. I covered that. They came back from Love 3 to the Yankees. I was at all of those games. I was in New York, and they finally won that game. And I was in St. Louis, obviously, that was a sweep. That was a quick series. But I was standing with a colleague, Jackie McMullen, a Westford alum, Westford High alum.
A legend with the Celtics.
Yes, and we were both around the same age. And again, she was an athlete too, coming out of high school. And right before the last out, and it was almost like she grabbed my hand and said, our parents would have, our parents who are no longer here, like both of our fathers. Yeah. It would have been it was like we were trying to experience the moment for them
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
You know? So, you know, it's interesting. But yes, I was thinking of my father then when that happened.
Well, right. Like you said, though, at the start, like, right, your dad was
He
taking
was
you
taking me to Fenway Park all the
Fenway Park.
time. Yeah.
And there you were, like, you could have been the shortstop. though.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah, although it's so weird, many of my uncles in my family never like cast doubt or aspersions when they were convinced I was going to be a shortstop on the Red Sox. maybe that was just for fun, but again, again, being female,
Yep.
and aspiring into careers either as a shortstop or even a sports writer.
Right.
In a kind of a male-dominated career, I never batted it. That never fazed me.
Right.
I never batted an eye. It was just, okay, how do I get from point A to point B?
Right. But being an athlete and getting to go to the Olympics and, like, watching somebody and hearing the anthem, too, it's
Yep.
like you were there anyways.
Right.
As an athlete. Like, I think what intrigues me is the most about your writing and stuff is that I do think, like I said, like you're almost like the coach and you're really trying to figure out the X's and O's of the whole thing.
Right. Well, it's always a mystery.
Yeah.
But as much as when I was growing up and reading the sports pages with my father, I was inspired by sports writers.
Correct.
Lee Montville from the Globe. I'm going, God, if I ever did this, I'd want to write just like him, or convey what he always tried to bring readers things that weren't obvious.
Yep.
To the just from watching. And, the stories behind the stories, or what led to that bunt, what led to, kind of the back action as to why did you see what you just saw, kind of thing.
Well, I'm telling you, it's been fantastic for me to know that you're an alum. I've followed you. I think it's absolutely terrific. And clearly, I followed you as an athlete, too.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you being here. I want to
you.
wish you continued success. And I hope I did as good a reporting job today on you as you've done across the way. So thank you. To our listeners, thank you very much for being here and enjoying Where Are They Now? Thank you.